Part 1, An Unforeseen Event. Hello, dear museum goers. Welcome to the Whispering Gallery podcast. I'm your flashlight-bearing researcher, pathfinder, or in museum speak, docent, Suzanne Nicolaisen. I trust you guys left your porch lights on, even with the Mothman unaccounted for. Folks like to see what's out there in the dark with them, after all. This episode is going to be a little different. I'm glad you're joining me in the candlelight glow in the Whispering Gallery tonight as we start our story with a short reading exploring the cryptid known as Mothman, whose name was used instead of Batman, since that was taken being on TV from 1966 to 68. Kind of interesting how that coincides with the sightings of Mothman from 1966 to 67. We've not had to find our way in the utter darkness like this before. Not that there is a usual route we take into the Whispering Gallery, but some light, even a night light, would be helpful since the candles blew out. This episode offers an introduction to our next spooky art piece about a cryptid that hails from West Virginia. He has been deemed a portent who was seen between 1966 and 67. His sightings ended after the tragic collapse of the Silver Bridge. I hope you've all been doing summer right. How does one do summer right? Playing in the water, telling spooky stories around the bonfire. Stargazing might include glancing at the sky when you're outside waiting for your dogs to go potty. You know, you kind of fill in the gaps of summer where you can. So how does summer wrap up where you are? Is it the start of school? Final summer camping trips? In Utah, one thing we look forward to is the August thunderstorms. And this year, the summer storms haven't disappointed. With torrents of rain, bruised clouds darkening skies to an unnatural twilight. It's quite a trip to watch it roll in. So I hope that nothing too scary, like booming thunderclaps that roll and echo across the mountainsides, have kept you awake at night. The storms are a little unnerving when they don't let up, or the rain speeds up, and hail mixes in, and lightning flickers in the clouds, occasionally emitting a bright flash. And then the following is a reading via Mysteries of the World, Unexplained Wonders and Mysterious Phenomena on pages 250-251. That gives us an overview of the cryptid memorialized in a life-size stainless steel statue in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. I've been researching in the middle of the night when the house is quiet, but even completing a thought has been difficult since the spooky cake episode. Why is this? Let me do some explaining for a quick moment. What hole did I disappear into? Well, thankfully it wasn't that bottomless pit in the sub-basement level of the Whispering Gallery. Remember, I volunteer for Rocky Mountain Dachshund Rescue? Long story short, and skipping a couple of other stories along the way, my husband and I, with support from our rescue peeps, fostered a pregnant dachshund and her best friend, the puppy's dad, until their adoption, which was pretty quick, thanks to our vet. When she was adopted, she and her BFF went to their forever family. She came back to us about a week before she was due to deliver the puppies, and she stayed with us through whelping, an emergency C-section, because 3 of the 4 puppies' skulls were too large to fit through her pelvic bones, through weaning, deworming, to the puppies' adoptions. We were lucky to foster and help these little ones. So this is where I've been, what I've been doing. So here we go, on to the reading. Mothman with its hypnotic red eyes. Mothman is one of the most fantastic creatures of the century, steadfastly refusing to fit into any set of explanations laid out by the scientific establishment. More than 100 witnesses reported seeing this strange creature, apparently half man, half bat, which for over 2 years had the state of West Virginia in a panic. It disappeared without a trace in 1967. Just a comment here and there, half bat. So how did he become a Mothman? Batman was taken. Continuing on, the bird creature from West Virginia. In 1966 and 1967, okay, pausing again, bird creature, still another jump to moth. Okay, back on it. The bird creature from West Virginia. In 1966 and 1967, there were numerous sightings in West Virginia of a gigantic winged creature. An animal, witnesses called it, which appeared suddenly out of the darkness. It had large, round, red eyes that glowed in the dark with hypnotic effect. The creature was shaped like a man, but at about 7 feet, 2.1 meters, was taller than any but the tallest of men. It had no recognizable head, and its eyes seemed to sit directly on its shoulders. Large wings were folded and lay close to the back of its body. When the wings were extended, its wingspan was around 12 feet, 3.6 meters. Witnesses reported that the beast made squeaking noises like a mouse. Okay, so we've got birds and mice and bats. Wow. The creature was gray, walked on strong human legs, and must have had superhuman strength because it lifted heavy iron gates from their hinges and moved at speeds of over 90 miles per hour, 145 kilometers an hour. According to witnesses who tried to escape from it in a car, it hovered above them at a uniform height. The press dubbed it Mothman from the first night it appeared, and the name has stuck. The paralyzing effect of its glowing eyes. Some of the people who sighted this creature, predominantly women who were menstruating, were literally followed by it right up to their front door. That's a disturbing add-on. Continuing. Some said it was a huge bird, while others called it an enormous bat because it had no feathers and smooth skin. One thing all the descriptions have in common is that the glowing eyes, up to 2.5 inches or 6 centimeters wide, are attributed a paralyzing effect. Because it was seen in West Virginia so many times that year, a kind of panic broke out. Although no one was ever harmed, in 1 week in late 1966, there were reports of strange-looking, tall birds resembling the Mothman in Ohio and Pennsylvania as well. Since the press at that time was full of news about the strange creature, it's hard to say if these really were sightings or whether it was just mass hysteria. The mysterious connection between UFO sightings and Mothman. John Keel states in his book, The Mothman Prophecies, "Those who saw the Mothman also saw UFOs. Those who saw them also had contact with the aliens." 9. The appearance of each of these three phenomena is accompanied by a cacophony of static dissonance that some call a loud squeak or distorted noise. Many witnesses in West Virginia reported that noises sounded as if someone were playing a recording much too fast. The creature remains a mystery. On one hand, it is a biological impossibility because it is too large to fly. On the other hand, it did not really use its wings in that way. According to witnesses, it flew more like a helicopter. The total count of people to have seen this winged impossibility, as Keel calls it, numbered more than 100. In 1975, there was another Mothman-like appearance in Texas, but it was not documented. In 2001, a film was made based on the book, The Metamorphosis, starring Richard Gere in the lead role. Let's see if that is it on this in the book. That is, but they do list other puzzling flying creatures. Between 1817 and 1880, there were sightings of flying creatures in Brooklyn, New York, that were not a kind of bird, but rather some winged black creature. A human-sized bat was seen in Kent, England in 1963. In 1969, a bird woman with bat wings appeared near Da Nang, Vietnam. In 1971, witnesses in Kristianstad, Sweden, saw a large flying creature. In 1973, there were numerous sightings of so-called smallygasters, mythical nocturnal creatures that are half bird, half reptile, and covered with hair in Maryland. That was offered up to us via Mysteries of the World, Unexplained Wonders and Mysterious Phenomena on pages 250, 251. The Whispering Gallery podcast is an independent podcast, as in a one-woman effort. Wrangling puppies, their mom, Boomer and their mom didn't get along, filled up everything this summer. So, in the next episode, we'll cover the art, the movie, the book, the museum, bridge failure, and surrounding witness stories of the portent, an empath-like cryptid, emoting sadness of the disaster to come. The one, the only, Mothman. As the lights continue to dim and the witching hour draws nigh, we can put this nice and short little episode to bed with a nice mug of warm milk, which I'd always heard about growing up and decided to sort it out and figure it out for my family. Nuke some milk in a mug until just warm. Grate a little tiny bit of fresh nutmeg into it and about 1 teaspoon of sugar. And this turns into just a touch of comfort before bed. My email is whisperingcontact@gmail.com. Our Facebook page has the art that's referenced in our episodes at Whispering Gallery Stories. Everything Whispering Gallery related is otherwise at whisperinggallerypodcast.com. Don't miss the next episode for more on the art of the Mothman, including the famous statue on Main Street in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, the book cover of The Mothman Prophecies by Frank Frazetta, and more on our dear harbinger who was sad before the tragic bridge collapse. With your drive to find the secrets and enjoy the spooky life, I'm sure you'll be watching the nearest light poles in the neighborhood, your front porch, the pool of light from your nightlight, for the Mothman to perhaps come out from the dark before our next episode. So I have another synchronicity story to share with you, so be sure to subscribe and stick around and listen to the next episode for that small but very related tale. Viva la Moth, I think is how you might say it, and you'll see why in the next episode. The Whispering Gallery podcast is written and produced by me, Suzanne Nicolaisen. Copyright, Suzanne Nicolaisen. All media, the book used for this special reading, was used under the protection of fair use. Please leave the Whispering Gallery podcast a rate and review wherever you listen. And please, go ahead and send me your requests for spooky art stories. You can support the podcast by volunteering or donating, Links are at whisperinggallerypodcast.com. The score for the Whispering Gallery podcast is Spellcraft by Jeff Harvey on Pixabay. The audio for this episode also included 522299_DFellowZ94 Crickets at Night Raw Sound and 199638 Zorana Thunder. Another was Classic Documentary Piano 197603. Another 693457 Hyper Blood Hell Moth 1 and 707468 Legend 569 Moth Spiraling into a Fluorescent Light. Other audio, music, and sound effects provided by the audio engineers and musicians on Free Sound. And many thanks to those audio engineers and musicians. Thanks for coming by tonight. If you would like to get one of our Ghost Host and Shotzi Doxy WGP stickers, Whispering Gallery podcast stickers, please email whisperingcontact@gmail.com or send me a note from whisperinggallerypodcast.com. If you're attending Phenomicon in Vernal, Utah, I'll be there attending the lectures. DM me if you'd like to meet up and talk spooky stories. Thank you for listening, and remember to keep your flashlights close and your spooky art stories closer when visiting the Whispering Gallery.